Hello everybody, today I would like to demonstrate my latest Twisty puzzle creation. This is a brick cuboid 7x8x9. This is a follow-up in my series of brick cuboids that I've been working on. First came the 5x6x7, then the 6x7x8, and now we have the 7x8x9. I'm currently working on a 4x5x6 because I just realized that's not actually a mass-produced puzzle. And from here we can go on to the 8x9x10, 9x10x11, 10x11x12, and the 11x12x13. But to be honest, in my opinion, this is the puzzle where things start to get a little bit out of hand, especially in terms of size. However, this is still reasonable to solve without one's hands becoming sore by the end of it. Now, this puzzle is modeled off of a 9x9x7, and what I've done is hidden away one of those layers with 3D printed extensions to create a 7x8x9. Just like with the previous two bricks, this is not an extensions-only puzzle, unlike the majority of the puzzles I offer. Instead, I have truncated four of the edges of the faces to create a much smaller final product. The compact puzzles are much nicer in my opinion. But I'll show off the size in a little bit. First, let's take a look at the turning the puzzle. After all, it is fully functional. And as standard, I'll go straight into a checkerboard pattern. And as you can probably hear, this is a post-process puzzle. These stickers have once again been cut by a friend of mine up north in Washington, and these sticker shades look great. I've done a little bit of a change as compared to the other bricks. I have decided to sticker in this case, the odd by odd side, the 7x9 side, with the white and yellow, because when solving, it just makes more sense since this is the side that you'll be solving. You would have the white and yellow faces at the top and bottom, and in my case, I tend to solve the standard white/yellow cross, the quote-unquote white cross solve. So that's why I've changed the sticker patterning, or the sticker scheme, I should say, and I do think that I will just standardize this color scheme for the puzzles going forward. I've had some people ask me to sticker it this way, and I think it just makes more sense, especially for people who solve white and yellow on the top and bottom. However, of course, I can sticker it however requested. Now let's take it out of the checkerboard pattern. And it does turn quite well, which might surprise you considering that there are a lot of overlapping pieces in the X8 layer. And despite that, it still turns quite well. Now let's get into a little bit of a size comparison. With me I have a standard size 5x5 as well as a standard size 3x3, just to give you an idea of how this puzzle stacks up to others that you might have in your collection. It's not the smallest puzzle, however, it is not unreasonably large. Oh, sorry, my lights are really fluorescent, or really reflecting off of that 3x3 there. It's a little bit better. And as you can see, it's still manageable and doesn't produce an unmanageable solving experience. Now, in terms of how this puzzle turns, it's based off of a Meilong 9x9, so it's going to turn pretty well. Corner cutting is there. There's not really any reverse, but across all the layers, but it's pretty standard with the Meilong line of puzzles. The corner cutting is quite decent, but what's really important are these larger cuts. And even across the layer with all of the overlapping pieces, oops, wrong way. It will still cut, as I said, there's no reverse, but there is forward, so it'll cut through this just fine. So during the solve, when we start to get into these larger higher order puzzles, I should say, it becomes a lot easier to misalign the puzzle. What I should say is it's harder to fully align the puzzle when making turns. So having a puzzle that's flexible enough to cut through those turns is quite nice. In terms of reverse, though, that's particularly non-existent. Let's go ahead and do that. it sort of works, but I won't advertise it. So in terms of the internals of this puzzle, you can partially see what's going on here. These are extensions off of a colorless, or sorry, a stickerless, not colorless, a circleless puzzle, because they do not make the Meilong line beyond, I think at this point, 8x8 and beyond are not made in solid color plastic bodies. So you can sort of see the interior, however, when full turns are made, you will not see that. Now let's get into what makes a brick a brick. As I've demonstrated in my other puzzles, I'll demonstrate what doesn't result in shapeshifting first. Turning even by odd doesn't work, so if I turn the 8x8 side onto the 9x9 side, or sorry, the 8 side onto the 9 side, that won't cut through. Similarly, if I turn the 7 side onto the 8 side, that will also not cut. The only shapeshifting that occurs is when you turn the 7 side onto the 9 side. And that will produce a shapeshifting move. And unlike ultimate shapeshifters, bricks can only be shapeshifted in one direction. So it does change the solving experience a little bit. We have less shapeshifting moves. It's not quite as difficult to solve as the ultimate shapeshifter, in my opinion. However, we do still have to deal with brick parity on occasion. But I'm going to finish up this demonstration with a full scramble. That should hopefully give you a better idea of the turning quality of the puzzle, and it'll show you what the puzzle looks like fully scrambled. But first, how do we scramble bricks? We must first start by scrambling it by only turning layers in 180-degree increments. This will ensure that pieces get properly mixed up with one another before any bandaging occurs. Hopefully this is giving a good idea of what the turning quality is like as well. I will take a little bit more time to scramble this stage, just to make sure. There's so many pieces, I really want to make sure that I get a proper scramble. So that's probably sufficient. Now what we can do is we can scramble the puzzle by turning the, when we have the white and yellow layers on the top and bottom, we can start turning that axis in 90-degree increments, but we must continue turning the other axis in 180-degree increments, since as we demonstrated before, it only shapeshifts in that one direction. So let's start by doing that. And now what we have is a real shapeshifted mess. Well, actually, not quite as messy as the ultimate shapeshifters, but it is still something to look at. Even when shapeshifting, despite the difficulty I'm having in aligning all the layers, because of the flexibility of the corner cutting, it is still quite manageable to work with. We're just going to do a few more turns. I do actually know how to solve this puzzle. Finally. It took a while, but I did finally learn how to solve the bricks and the ultimate shapeshifters, and I do have a demonstration of a full solve of the 5x6x7 on my channel. Now, something I forgot to demonstrate are actual algorithms. How does the algorithm flow work? So let's go ahead and do, really quickly, an adjacent edge swap. And as you can see, I am honestly struggling a bit. I will not lie. It is a little bit hard for me personally to get a full grip on this puzzle. But perhaps that is due to my background as a speed solver. Well, I was never particularly fast, but I did get into Twisty puzzling primarily through C-fopping the 3x3. It is a little bit difficult for me to manage this puzzle, but if you are just a collector and you just want to enjoy the solving experience of one of these larger, higher order puzzles, and you don't mind taking it a little bit slower, I do think that this puzzle is a great addition to one's collection. However, perhaps it's not for the more speedcuber inclined of us who want to learn how to solve this quickly, or not learn, but who want to solve this quickly. It will be a little bit more tedious, so it is best to handle these higher order puzzles with a little bit of patience. Now with that said, I have dragged this out long enough. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.